Hello and welcome. Thank you for taking the time to join us. This is the first of two presentations that we're recording for AAS. I'd like to introduce you to my colleagues, Nicola and Angela, who many of you will know. Angela and Nicola are Program Managers of Primary Connections and are both inspiring educators. My name is Lynn Walker. I'm an Education Specialist at the Australian Academy of Science. The title of our presentation is How Might We Enable Generalist Teachers to Become Confident Science and STEM Practitioners? We phrased this as a question on purpose because this is a question that constantly drives us. We don't claim to have all of the answers, but we are passionate about supporting teachers on their journey of professional growth. In this session, we're going to try and take you on the journey that we've been on to try and answer this question. We'll explain some of the approaches that we've taken and what we've learned along the way, and most importantly, how that learning is informing all of our work with and for teachers.
Thanks, Lynn. Hi everyone, I'm Nicola. Like Lynn said, we are driven to support teachers with their professional growth. Primary Connections has evolved over the past 18 years by offering relevant and responsive professional learning in primary science. The usage, reach and uptake of the Primary Connections program is represented in this slide. Yet, despite this success, we are never complacent. Primary Connections is ever adapting and responds to the rapidly changing education landscape. We have a strong commitment to independent evaluation. For example, in the recent UTS evaluation of Primary Connections, a number of findings and recommendations informed Primary Connections activities and projects. We will summarise those projects for you in this presentation. While UTS found that Primary Connections aligns with the Australian Government education policy priorities in relation to science and STEM education in schools, continuous updates are indeed essential. Teacher feedback also indicates a strong appetite for augmenting Primary Connections resources to meet student and contextual needs. This representation is linear, but in reality, the primary teacher is a generalist teacher and a science and/or STEM practitioner. They are not moving from one to the other, but ever growing. Primary Connections recently undertook a digital transformation project to further facilitate and support teacher professional growth. Having worked with and for teachers for so long, our digital transformation project was informed by the following: that teachers are extremely time poor, that teachers have different sets of requirements dictated by system, environment, and the students around them, that for some teachers science is perceived as difficult and many lack confidence in teaching the learning area. For most schools, science is third in their list of priorities, sitting behind literacy and numeracy, and that teachers need and want to keep current in a world of rapid change. To begin its digital transformation project, Primary Connections assessed the components of its curriculum units, which informed how we could increase the interactivity of curriculum resources. This was completed in collaboration with a digital design and user experience agency, and we invited evaluation from expert education academics from Deakin University. Learnings from this assessment informed the development and piloting of 8 Primary Connections units in an interactive digital mode. 10 teachers from 6 schools in 5 states or territories participated in the trial over 1 school term and provided feedback and suggestions for future development. We learnt so much about teacher behaviour, preferences and assumptions about primary science. For example, there is a subtle but important distinction that teachers make between having access to resources located in one place and having a format that appears prescriptive. Teachers want packaged content so that it saves time searching for it, but they prefer the idea of tailoring that content rather than having it fully sequenced. When teachers consider professional learning activities, they perceive them as an extra task, disconnected from the day-to-day classroom demands. Teachers' core focus is providing engaging and relevant learning experiences for students, So, teachers will not prioritise their own professional learning needs when it is not immediately clear how it will increase student learning outcomes. Other findings about inquiry behaviours, the role of questions, and whole school adoption are listed on this slide. Lynn will now summarise another recent Primary Connections project. Lynn?
In response to the developing needs of teachers and the National Innovation and Science Agenda, Primary Connections collaborated with Resolve Maths by Inquiry to develop and pilot new resource packages for teachers. The resource packages support teachers to strengthen the links between maths and science and aim to increase professional learning in STEM education. The resources included a suite of materials that supported students and teachers to find STEM connections through inquiry learning and to map students' understanding of STEM learning experiences. Primary Connections and Resolve worked with national agencies to ensure that the resource packages included real-life contemporary STEM contexts. While a tailored approach to professional learning was used for the schools selected one of two contexts for their resource packages. These were extreme events, natural hazards, or marine STEM, the Great Barrier Reef. As Nicola described with the Digital Transformation Project, our STEM Connections project also taught us so much about teachers' needs and preferences. Because we work so closely with teachers, this project also gave us a greater insight into what STEM education meant for different teachers, how deeply their needs and attitudes are affected by their context, and the importance of meeting those individual teachers where they were at in their journey. Some of the key findings from this project are summarised for you here. And what we learned from this project continues to feed back to help us address the central questions of the project. How can we support teachers to understand what's meant by STEM and to articulate their goals of STEM integrated learning? And how can we provide resources and professional learning packages that teachers really want to use?
Another new approach for Primary Connections in supporting generalist teachers to become confident science and STEM practitioners is the trialling of online professional learning. Whilst the impact of Primary Connections face-to-face professional learning workshops on teacher confidence and capacity to teach science is well documented in the literature, Primary Connections took the opportunity to build on its strong reputation for professional learning to develop, trial and evaluate online professional learning offerings. We trialled two approaches: a blended approach involving online and face-to-face components, and that was done with 48 teachers, an online-only approach with 33 teachers. We learned that the self-paced nature of online professional learning was welcomed by teachers. We learned that the main obstacle to completing the course related to time. In fact, 75% of participants advised that they completed the course in their own time. 25% of the participants completed the course during scheduled school planning time or meeting time. The desire for an opportunity to collaborate with other participants is a strong motivating factor among many teachers. The highest online course completion rate was observed from teachers who completed the course in association with a face-to-face workshop. So, how did we apply what we learned? We designed a bespoke professional learning program with varied learning design elements including face-to-face and online components. We situated much of the content in the everyday work of teachers in classrooms, so transfer of learning was optimised. With emphasis on teachers as researchers in this program and through action research, participants are able to apply learning, reflect and collaborate. Learning in this approach is sustained and shared within the community of practice. Participants were active co-constructors, including guiding content development through pre-program survey, involving teachers in defining the architecture and content for the online community of practice. The three projects you have heard about in this presentation reveal some consistent findings, as Lynn will explain.
There were many similarities in what we learned across these projects. but the 5 that stood out for us most strongly are summarised here. These key learnings inform and become principles that underpin all of our future work. We took a similar approach across the projects, and that approach was reflective of our principles of respecting teachers. What came across really strongly in these projects was the effectiveness of this approach, both in gaining greater insight into the needs of teachers, but also in our ability to meet those needs. As important as the approaches that we took in these programs were the people that we worked with. Each of the groups of stakeholders that we worked with contributed a different lens and brought a different perspective that helped us understand the problems, questions and needs of teachers more deeply, and also helped us find solutions to their problems. These new approaches have informed how we work across programs, reinforcing and informing our interactions with teachers and with external stakeholders. We've also learnt more about the Academy's role in the educational landscape, about who we are. Our work and who we are is all about professional learning. We are for teachers, we are collaborative and connected. We're committed to working with universities and keen to hear your thoughts and ideas. We look forward to catching up with you in the facilitated discussion soon.